Do you ever experience pinching at the front of the hip capsule? Yeah, so I'm here with Dr. Justin Dean. We're in Santa Monica on the beach, enjoying it, gonna relax a little bit. Show us how to fix it. Now, this is a little bit more for our clinical-based audience, but this is something that, depending on region and area and expertise, maybe this is something that could be of value in another area. So, or you could walk us through maybe some variations of this. But
absolutely,
it's a really interesting hip mobility that we have not seen anywhere else, and literally resolves most of the pinching of the front of the hip. So we can't guarantee that in all circumstances, but yeah,
quite a bit. So this is going to be for you, those of you that have the pinching in the front of the hip at that deepest end of the squat, and or if you go to a clinician and they do what's called an Fai test, which I'll demonstrate on you now. You want to lay on your back?
Yeah.
So a lot of times in clinical practice, we do what's called an Fai test. It's the femoral acetabular impingement. What we're going to do is we're going to internally rotate and bring across center. For a lot of people, that'll cause a good pinch here. And that's the same sort of pinch that you would feel with a deep squat. So this particular mobilization is to stretch the nerves that enter and supply the capsule, the hip capsule. That's the part of the capsule that holds it all together and gives it stability. This is passive stability. So it prevents the joint from basically sliding out. So there's two different ones we'll do today. First one is the obturator nerve. The obturator nerve exits the pelvis right in this area and supplies the big meat on the inside, the adductors. So the first thing we're going to do to isolate that part of the nerve, we've got to do a little bit of a tricky looking maneuver, but it works wonders. So you're going to bring the hip all the way to the outside, and Chris says,
so that's pretty good mobility for an old thick guy.
This is better than me. Probably too many marathons in my day. And then we want to have some internal rotation of the hip. So first things first, we're going to lock him out, which he has way more than I was expecting. You pull the hip down, internal rotation. Pull the hip down, internal rotation. Pull,
so
lift.
That pulling is creating traction on the joint, so he's getting me in range, creating traction, and then adding the movement to stretch that nerve.
Exactly. The nerve is like right in here, and it meanders over to the anterior superior portion of the capsule, which has the most pain receptors called nociception, and it's also the thickest, strongest part of the capsule. So if you have problems in this part of the capsule, it actually becomes thicker and denser because it's getting pinched when you're doing maneuvers. So once again, we're going to lock this part out, pull right down, internally rotate the hip. You feel a little pull right there, right?
Yep.
Pull, rotate, pull, rotate, pull, rotate.
Oh, this feels really good.
Yeah. You felt that one before, right?
No.
So a lot of people, they'll have limited internal rotation, which is the ability of the hip to rotate, if we're using the femur as a reference, towards midline.
And I'm pretty limited on the internal, like person, where I would like to be.
Not now. So here we go. We can do this one. You can see his internal rotation relative to the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Is significantly different. So let's do that same thing on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Again, give that about 10, 15 degrees. We're going to go abduction.
And I can feel a little bit of that pinching when you're doing the Fai test, by the way.
Where do you feel the pinching? Can you point out?
I actually feel it right here.
Perfect.
Yep.
So it's right in there.
Yep. And I did not feel that on the left hip after you finished, by the way.
Good. Did you feel the other side going too?
Before, on the Fai test, yeah.
Gotcha. See, I didn't even ask him. So again, all the way out. We know we're at end range, and this one's tighter because his hip starts to move. Okay? So we go here. Same thing. Locked it out. We're going to pull the hip down and then rotate. Down. This is much tighter. Pull and rotate. Still a good old 600 pounds to do. And we're pulling down, rotating in. Pulling down. We're not forcing anything. It's just a gentle mobilization. Feels part of the hip you probably haven't felt before, right?
Mm-hmm.
There. After about 10, 15 reps, how's that pinch? Gone. Is it? And most importantly,
Nice.
we're at.
Yeah.
So I think that's a pretty underappreciated cause of anterior hip pain and pinching. So all the different areas that the nerve enters the muscle, you can actually mobilize it and create more mobility there. Because the research is very specific on exactly how to find these points. But there's nobody doing clinical interventions with it. They're just doing injections with it. Gotcha? So, for example, if we wanted to get to the nerve to the lateral, your rectus lateralis, it'd be right about there. A little tender.
Yep.
And I can do,
Oh, cool.
got me?
Yeah.
So you can use
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
You can use it. You feel that down the side of your leg? Vastus lateralis is the nerve that supplies the motor to it. So I'm just increasing internal rotation, which will put more tension on the femoral nerve, while I increase mobility of that nerve that's actually horizontal, not vertical.
Yeah.
Because it comes out here, dives over. So we have to do it differently. Than we
Very
would.
cool.
Yeah. So let's do that again. Even more.
Yeah. Oh my God. Huh. You're not even like putting any pressure on my leg.
No.
For clinicians out there, if you want to learn more, I mean, the most cutting edge approach that I've seen with all the travels and people that I know is from Dr. Dean and Dr. Snell with their neurocentric approach. So if you want to learn more, click here. But Dr. Dean, you want to say anything on the neurocentric?
Yeah, the idea of the neurocentric approach is that we're reprioritizing our evaluation, our treatment, and our exercise choices to prioritize the health, mobility, and functionality of the nervous system. So that could be a brain intervention, or that could be an articular nerve intervention like you just saw here. Change the lens of focus from meat, dumb red muscle, to nerves and how they function, and they move, and now you have a completely different way of evaluating, treating, and the results are
Yes.
quite obvious.
I really think of the neurocentric approach as like the clinical companion to what we do at Kabuki. Systems-wise, it's been developed in concert over the course of quite a period of time, thinking around the same philosophy, but in a deeper depth as it relates to neurology and function. So yeah.